Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Stellar Sessions. It's Monday again. Isabella Hamilton, CEO and founder of Rang Bell, and I have the pleasure to have with me a very amazing human, Miss Alina. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you.
That's amazing. I want to tell you guys, I met this gorgeous human right here a few weeks ago, and I have heard so much about her previous to meeting her. So I was just like ready to like ask her all these questions. So we went on a little lunch date. But before I even tell you how amazing she is, I want you, Alina, to kind of walk us back through, I don't know, your history, I guess, a little bit, to kind of like your schooling and where you were born. Just a little caught up before we get to the culmination point, which is your church. So let's do it.
History. Wow, that's a big one. I've had a few in this lifetime, I feel like at least. Um, well, I'm originally from my mother,
Good.
who gave birth to me in the vicinity of Ukraine. It's always funny to me when people ask me, where are you from? As I immigrated. I think maybe you can relate somehow. My family immigrated here when I was 9. So I grew up in the United States. However, I still harbor and have a lot of the Eastern European values and family values and, life standards and such. And so I often find myself kind of in between these two worlds where I don't consider myself Ukrainian, but I am also not 100% American. So I have this kind of combination. And I mean, I'm sure as, many people of the world do as well as see myself as many ethnicities and different humans and different cultures. And I've traveled quite a bit, and so I enjoy learning about different cultures, languages, and understanding them on a deeper level, and then taking into my life, the things that I appreciate and respect. So going, into my childhood or my upbringing, my mom is Jewish. My dad was Russian Orthodox. It was very, back then that was not okay. And that was a big deal for interracial or interfaith based couples to come together. So I was raised in a family with kind of a lot of different points of view where I got to see, the Jewish side of culture, but then also my dad would take us to church once a year for, you
So do
know,
you practice both religions right now?
I actually practice no religion as I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the standard religion or the way religion has been presented or taught or followed. I don't subscribe to any of those. I think it's beautiful, and I think, for the values that it teaches is wonderful. However, in my opinion, we don't need to have a book or, this belief in things or people that have existed and praise on them. We can just take the values and kind of create a world with those values, which is kind of how I've lived all my life. I've always lived with love and compassion and kindness and care and lots of giving. I've volunteered pretty much majority of my life to nonprofits. I work with orphanages. I work with the Rotary Foundation International. I've worked with a lot of animal shelters. I came into being a vegetarian vegan about 12 years ago. So for me, it's not just a scripture that teaches you to live. I actually don't. I mean, I've read the Bible. I've read the Torah. I even got a chance to look at a Quran. I've done some Buddhist teachings. Um, but the most things that I identify with is the real things that are in my life, the people that are in my life, the animals that are in my life, and those are the things that I feel, and those are the things that I can relate with.
Mm. When you said, and I wasn't really sure what we were going to talk about today, and that's what I love about this podcast, because I bring guests on, and based on what they bring to the table, I feel like it's very important subject to bring on. And you mentioned something that's I'm sure can be shocking for some people. I mean, without going too much into your background, I mean, you own a church
That's right.
and you literally just said you don't believe in God. So I'm just wondering, you having had access to a multitude of different spiritual practices, I'm wondering if this has led you to kind of create your own practice, and what have you taken from all these religions that brought you to the point where you're like, this is not something I want to go the direction I want to go. However, you have all this background that has brought you to this point. So can you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's a funny, ironic situation because I'm a Jew that doesn't believe in God who runs a church. Now,
Right.
get that wrapped around your head. And
Right.
I mean, it really is a church for me. It really is my religion. And so, Church of Music, is a place where love is our faith, music is our religion, and we practice by dancing. And throughout my life,
Wait. Can you say that again? Because it gives me chills. I remember when I first came to Church of Music and I read that and I was like, oh my God, I think I found my religion. I am home now. So say that again. Say that again because it's so good.
love is our faith, music is our religion, and we practice by dancing.
Ooh, let's go. I love it. I know
Mhm.
too much energy on Monday, 8 a.m.
At
Listen,
Monday, exactly.
get it, but I think this is so important. So tell us a little bit about Church of Music for as much as you want.
So for me, music has always been my place of nurture, of growth, of creation, of connection, of excitement, of anything and everything, right? So I really do believe that music has the power to take you in any direction, whatever you're feeling. It also, I believe, is the one tool that can truly unite the world, because it really doesn't matter what language you speak, what you look like, where you come from, what's the color of your skin, what you do for a living. None of that matters when you come into a place where music resonates with you, and it also is resonating with all the people around you, and you all get on the same level, and you start connecting and you start resonating. And there's actually scientific research that's been done, and a good friend of mine is doing or was doing a lot of research on this, about how music affects your mind and the wavelengths that actually start happening and start creating within our brain waves start going at the same speed and the same level when we're listening to specific sounds. So I always found it really fascinating, and I thought, wow, this is truly the one thing. Because for me, what, like, I guess the biggest red flag or the biggest thing about any religion is that it separates us. It instantly puts you into a box. It instantly separates, the Jews from the Catholics, from the Muslims, from the Buddhists, from the believers, from to the non-believers. All of this stuff. At the end of the day, we're humans. And it really doesn't matter what you believe or how we came to be here. We are here now. And the one thing that's here now is music, and music that can truly take you into the present moment and give you the space and create the space to hold space for people to be in that moment and relate with one another, or just be alone. Or, like I said, like, music really does have the capacity to do many different things on many different levels.
Right. But when we talk about music, I mean, it's so general. Like, is
Yeah.
all music the same?
No, that's the other thing. So, yes, so I'm actually classically trained on the piano, since I was 5 years old. And I got into DJing a few years back, 2017, because I had come across a genre of music called the organic house, which is organic. And organic means it has live instruments in it. It means it has some sort of a voice, some sort of a melody, that truly spoke to my soul. And then you have tribal house, which is more, African, Brazilian, Latin, which I also associate with because I used to do a lot of Latin dancing and teach Latin dancing and all this stuff. And then, of course, Balkan music and Eastern European music and global beats. So for me, my type of sound is the one that goes for your soul. It's the one that resonates with your heart. It's the one that resonates with your soul, and the one that can pull people in regardless of their age, regardless of their background. And I think this is what's the most beautiful part for me with Church of Music, is that we have everyone there, from families with children to the old school guys and girls, that come and love this on weekly basis. And it and it and they're able to connect with, the teenagers and the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, and then whatever, like literally every single ethnicity and background and color. It really does resonate, because the music, this particular type of music, is very soulful. It's very yeah. I feel like that's really the way to cut. And it's also very broad. So it can be from all over the world, or it can be, just sound from the US that, it just has a beat and just a tiny little bit of a melody. So
Do
something like
you
that.
think people are just taking in music without any regards to like what they're listening to? Do you feel like a lot of people are just consuming to consume without being aware of what they're consuming, even as far as music?
Yes, 100%. A lot of people, it's the mindset of where is the majority going, and it's about being part of the what's the latest trend, and what's the coolest new song, and who's the coolest new artist. And it's all about, being kind of like in the cool crew, which for me, so part of my background, growing up in Ukraine as a Jew, I was always, bullied as a Jew, told to go, hey, go back to Israel. I'm like, who's Jewish and where's Israel and why are you sending me there? Then I came to the US and it was Russian, go back to Russia. And I'm like, hey, I'm from Ukraine. Why are you sending me back to Russia? And so I could never understand where I'm from and where I'm supposed to be, which was blessing in disguise, because it really taught me to stand my own ground and learn about who I am truly, really early on, which a lot of people don't go through till later on in their life. And so it goes in every single part of my life, including music, where I never really cared about the trends. I really just, I kind of, find my own path always. And I always figure out really what I like and what truly resonates and what I feel. I live a lot through my soul, I guess, and my open heart. Because I do believe that, like I said, love and kindness and compassion are the things that will heal the world. Because all of the other things, all the bullies, they don't come because they want to bully. They come because they're hurting, and they don't need to be, reprimanded by handcuffs. They need to be healed by love. They need to be healed by community. They need to be healed by care, by showing that, they matter, that somebody cares about them.
Mm,
So that's
this is
kind of.
so beautiful. I think music has definitely been an escape for me ever since I was young. I remember my sister, my brother, and I were sharing a room, and as soon as my parents went to sleep, we had this little radio, like this small, right? And I would send my brother to do my bidding, be like, "Hey, go to the living room and bring the radio." And I remember we would listen to like top 10 or top 20 from America, and it would literally just be my escape. And I always tell people, one of my biggest dreams when I was younger was to come to US, and I feel like, music had a huge influence on me because it just let me escape. I had no idea what they were saying, but the way people were singing, and it just seemed so much more free than what I was going through in Romania. So that has always been an escape for me. And then, meeting you and learning about Church of Music, and I want to give a little background to the listeners, those who are home and are going to replay this. I went to Church of Music, I believe, within the last month, and I remember a friend invited me. She said there's a place called Church of Music, and of course, when you hear such a thing, there's so many ideas that come to your mind, like, what? Wait, a church and of music? Like, what is this? And I get there, guys, and my friend picks me up, and I drive, and it's at the edge of the world. Literally, you're on the coast, on the last piece between Earth meets the ocean, and that's where you set up. your DJ booth, and it was the most amazing view that I have seen, combined with the most beautiful sounds. And then you bring that with all the people that were around. I really literally felt at home, and I was like angry for not knowing about it. So how did you decide to start Church of Music? Like, take us back to the beginning.
Yeah. So I learned to DJ back in 2017. I was running my own startup at that point, and I've done a few things in my life to that led to that time in my life. And so I learned to DJ, and I understand music, like I said, a little bit on a different level from just my piano background, from learning classical piano since I was 5. And so I started DJing, and I would ask my friends, I'm like, hey, can I, play, or can I open? How do I get involved? What does it take? And the first question would be like, how long you been DJing? I don't know, a year. Go practice.
Mm,
Don't you want to give me a chance, or listen, or, check it out, see what I can do, hear my sound, anything? And I quickly realized that it's a very much of a man's world
mm,
and a boys club.
mm.
And I come
Even
from,
DJing,
oh,
even DJing.
oh my God, so much worse than any industry. And I come from supply chain logistics, which is 90% male. I come from patent monetization litigation background, also 90% male. I've done recycling, 99% male. I mean, I've literally done all the industries that are all male dominant, but I have never seen such a boys club as I have in the music world, in the music
You
scene.
think it has to do not only like in the business world, we know it's a lot about money, right? And success and getting ahead. But do
No,
you feel like with music is not only that, but also ego?
it's 100% ego, actually, because there's really not that much money, especially for the local DJs. I mean, you make $200, $300 a gig. It's not about money at all. It's all 100% ego. And so you see a lot of these guys who are like, in their 20s and their 30s, and, they're the new shit, and they're the best friends of the best friends, and they're all in the same crew, and they all hang around, and they all get booked at the same places over and over and over and over and over again. And you're just like, there's no other talent, and where are the females, and where are the people of color, and where's the diversity? Like, these are the only musicians that exist, or the DJs that exist in my town, really, out of like 6 million people that live here. And so I usually, when that happens in my life, I get a little fire under my tush, and and I kind of have this thing where I'm like, let me see what I can do. And
Interesting.
so, and yeah, so it was the right place at the right time, with the right culmination of things, where uh, COVID happened,
Mm.
2020. My startup shut down, and or went on pause, I should say. And I decided to just borrow a bunch of equipment and go set up in the park with 5 of my friends who sat, a mile away from me. They're like, she's going to jail. And I said, I'm going to jail, but that's okay, because music is my religion. And I, like, at that time, I don't know if you remember, but churches were allowed to gather outside. And I felt discriminated, because I'm like, well, I don't subscribe to that belief, but music is my belief. It really is my church. It is my one thing that I do a week that lifts me up, and then, continues to keep me going. And so
The
I
spirit,
literally
yes.
I literally was willing to go to jail at that point. And so I'm like, I might be breaking some rules and some laws and some regulations at this point, but I need music. I just really do. And I went and I played a set, and I, live streamed it, and it just, people were like, where are you? I want to come. I need this, like, oh my God, please tell us where you're going to be. So nothing happened, the first week I did it. So I'm like, let's do it again next weekend. And so we did it again, and next weekend 20 people showed up. And then we did it again, and 50 people showed up. And so I just started doing it every single week, and it was outside. It had plenty of space for people to spread out, because we were going through COVID. It had plenty of space where people, could wear masks, could stay in their little pods, but they still were in nature. And we were listening to music to release and to really just be in the moment. And I cannot tell you. So the first one was May 8th, 2020, on our 1 year anniversary when we did the our 1 year celebration. We had 2,000 people there.
Wow.
It
Incredible.
turned into a mini Burning Man. And so, and if I don't know if you know Burning Man, but all our ethos and the way I built it is very much structured and built upon the mindset of Burning Man, because Burning Man truly is my home, and I do believe that that is the future of humanity. And so, yeah, so that was basically the start, and that's what motivated me. And since we started, we've done 105 services. Each one is 50% female at the least. We have done many full female lineups. We do all only local artists. We do not book artists from anywhere else. It is a donation based service, and it really is like a church, just like a church. We hold services every week. We have it in the public space. We also do the service as a peaceful protest, because I am all about bringing awareness and doing things with a purpose. So it's not a party and it's not a rave. Even though when people see it, they're like, oh, it's a party. I'm like, no, it's not. We don't sell alcohol. We don't promote drugs. We don't. It really is about community coming together and standing for something bigger and something more important. And every week that we've done it, we always highlight a different cause that matters to me and that matters to those around me, to the community, etc. So we've done, standing together for Ukraine, for no war in Ukraine, for women's rights, for Black Lives Matter, for Afghani refugees, really for homelessness in San Diego. And we've raised funds and donated to the local charities. We've done, bus trips to the orphanage. So there's different, things that, for me, it's just like a church. It's not just about the service. It's what do we take back to the community, and how do we leave this world, and how do we want to be seen and remembered, and like, what do we give back?
Yeah.
How
And
can we give back?
one important thing to mention, and I know we are going to get to this hopefully, but you did mention, we are just like a church, and but at the same time, you have been encountering a lot more issues than a regular church would. At the same time, you are trying to help all these people. You are gathering people together. You're practicing your religion, yet you are met with so many restrictions and so many issues every single week that for the past 2 weeks you haven't been able to hold service. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, because so like I said, so from, when you see the service happening and the peaceful protest happening from outside, it looks like a party, but it's not. Because we have, let's say, DJ equipment, or, our speakers. So for example, we got, first time ever, we got shut down on Juneteenth, Father's Day, while we were standing together for Black Lives Matter, for, civil rights, for human rights. On the 19th of June, we had a full POC lineup, people of color lineup, local artists, beautiful, incredible artists from San Diego, talented. And the cop showed up and said, I can't hold service. We have to shut down. And I said, why? And they're like, well, you can't have DJ equipment. I'm like, really? Show me a law that says that, because there is no law. I come from a legal background. And he's like, you can't have the speakers. I'm like, actually, as long as we're under 75 dBm within the public space and done by 10 p.m. and we're not bothering anyone, I think we're okay. He's like, well, we got a complaint. And, we were at that point, and I make sure to do all our services outside of residential areas. I never want to bother anyone. That's one of our things. It's like, because for me, I wouldn't want somebody to come and set up, like their music for whatever it may be in front of my house. It's just not necessary, and it wouldn't be nice. So We were in a place that was not residential area, and I said, who are we bothering? Show me one person. And it's a huge public space and park, so even if we are bothering, you can move any which way. um, and then at the end, they basically said, well, either you shut down or we'll shut down and impound your equipment. And so I'm like, you know what, I'll shut down, but I want you to give me a citation, and I want you to write on the citation why you're shutting me down. And you know what they gave me a citation for?
What?
Dogs, smoking, and a large crowd.
Mm.
I did not have any dogs. I was not smoking. And it is a park, and a park does allow large crowds, and that's what it's designed for.
So they're
And
just trying to use up any little excuse
yeah,
because they know you're gonna take it all down and go home. And even though you
right.
come this week, they already
Yeah.
managed to close you down.
Exactly. And so, and I was kind of upset, very upset. And I'm like, where's the DJ equipment? And where's the sound? Well, we didn't really have we didn't have a reader, a sound reader. So, and it didn't sound so loud. I'm like, okay, what about the DJ equipment? Well, that's included in the large crowd and the show, classification. I'm like, what? And then they send me to what is it called? Traffic court for that. So it's not it's not even a real court. Yes. So the citation is for traffic court. And I'm like, hey, do you realize, like, okay, even if you see people with dogs off the leash, I cannot enforce that. I am not a police officer. That's your job. If you're seeing somebody, breaking the rules or breaking the law that they may not be aware of, you need to tell them that. You need to enforce that. All I'm doing is holding a peaceful protest, holding a church service. We're not bothering anyone. We're here for a certain amount of time with a certain specific, motivation. It's not my job to take care of the homeless person that's sitting there who's doing meth. Is that also on me? Like, just
What do you
because
think the purpose is for them to give you so much pushback? Like, why do you think this is happening?
I think for two reasons. So they see a large crowd, and they see something that's been going on that's successful, and they think there's money. And so whenever they think there's money, they want a piece of it. And actually, one sheriff told me over the phone once, he's like, well, it's not fair. We have a permitting department, and they're sitting without a job while you're holding all these events. I'm like, excuse me? Like, is it my job to employ them and to make sure that they get paid? Like, what? And
That
then this particular guy said, well, you hold a peaceful protest every week. I'm like, yeah, because there's a lot of things that are going on that we care about and that need to be, brought up to attention to the community that people can rise up for and stand up for. He's like, well, what if everybody did that? I'm like,
they
that's our
should.
constitutional right, actually. So yes, they can do that. That's our First Amendment right, to gather peacefully and to give, like, to stand together for a cause. That's literally First Amendment right of the constitutional law, which is above any state, any park, any regulations that are local. So for me, it was just like, wow, these guys just,
Mm.
so for me, that was the two things that it's money, and it's just control power. They're afraid that, oh, if people see me doing it, then they're gonna start doing it. I'm like, yeah, it's it's the constitutional right.
Hopefully they do. I mean, if
Yeah.
only it was that easy to influence people.
Yeah.
We know better than that. But are there any things you can do right now? Like, is this going to be like a lawsuit? I mean, is there something you can bring attention to the city? Like, this is not okay, and you're the only one fighting against this.
Yeah, so I'm actually working with lawyers, and we will be taking this to court, because it is bullying. It is 100% bullying, and it was unlawful for them to shut me down. They do not have a right to shut down the peaceful protests in any way, shape, or form. So we will be taking this to court and fighting.
Yeah,
Say again?
hopefully this is the best thing they could have ever done to you, shut you down.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, everything in life happens for a reason. So even though, it was devastating, and it is, and, it's a fight, and I don't want to fight. And it's the funny part is that, so for the past 2 years, I have worked together with the cops. I used to call them and let them know where we're going to be and what time we're going to be there. And they would ask me if I needed any support, because for any peaceful protest, they have to offer assistance in case there's an opposition.
Mhm.
And actually, one of the reasons, I would do that is because, again, it's not for me. It's always been about working together. I don't want to cause
Right.
any like any issues between any us or the police department or the city or the parks or whatever. One of our main ethos is to always leave the place better than we found it. So we always clean up. We always make sure, there's nothing left behind us. So it's like never happened kind of thing, because it's public parks
Yeah.
and we want to leave them great for the next person that comes there, and for the children, and for the old school, and whatever, all the people and the aliens.
Exactly. That's so interesting. So
Yeah.
they were helping you, yet something happened. Do you feel like they have changed ever since the world started opening up a little bit more? Do you feel like that was the transition? Like, what do you think happened that they went from like, we're your friends, we're here to protect you, to let us shut you down for some lies? Like, how do you go from that to that?
I think it was the world going back to normal, but there's no normal, because there's really no ever going back to anything, because we only continue to go forward. And so I think, like I said, they're not used to seeing something like this happen every week. And their first reaction, their generic reaction, is shut it down. We don't, this is not, we can't control it. This is out of our control. This is out of our hands. Like, shut it down. And so that's, I think, the number one issue. And I do believe, like, again, I think they are just following rules and laws. I just don't think they're aware of their laws and rules. So that's why I want to go to court, and I want, the court paper that states exactly what we're doing and gives us the green light kind of to go ahead.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that. What are the future plans for Church of Music? Like, where is your, I don't know, 5-year goal? I mean, if you can even expand on that long time.
Yeah. So, seeing how amazing the community has resonated with what we're doing, our ethos, our values, how much we've grown. Um, I really do believe that we are at a place where the next stage for us would be to actually acquire a piece of land and create a retreat center where we would have Church of Music on weekly basis, where we would have dancing, where we would have art, where we have sports, where we also run all our services 100% on solar power generators. And
Mm,
so have and this retreat center, all green energy, and grow our own food, kind of a self-containing community. And the whole point and the whole thing of this whole community is for healing the body, the mind, and the soul. And it's everything that heals. Oh, and of course, the animals. Can't forget about the animals. So I would love to have like a sanctuary on this place as well, where we rescue animals and people can actually have an interaction with a cow and a pig and a donkey and, a sheep and whatever, all of this. And I would love for it to be within 20, 30 minutes of downtown San Diego, where it's easily accessible, where community can come together, where it's open to the community, but also has the ability to grow, and also a business, because we also do need to survive, and we also need to bring in funds. And at this point, it's just, we're structuring it and building it just like a startup, and it's taking time, and it's taking some readjusting and understanding. And so that's kind of my vision. My goal is to start with one retreat center within San Diego, and then build it all over the nation and hopefully the world.
interesting. That's very good. So, how do you go? Because I know you're making no money from this. You barely have money to run this. It's just interesting to me to see you. You come from such a business background. Of course, you have your music background, and you have this, and you're very young and beautiful. For those who are cannot see Alina live on Facebook, um, you have all this, background that you could go in and literally take on any type of position or start your own business and make a shit ton of money, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
Yet you're taking yourself out of that, and you're dedicating your whole life to this purpose. Like, one, when did you realize that this is your purpose, and what the hell are you going to do for money?
Yeah, 100%. So it actually hit me probably the first 6 months when I started seeing the growth and the feedback of the community, I literally would get letters from people saying, you know, Alina, you saved my life. I really was suicidal. People were depressed. People were scared. And this was the one place that was safe, that people could come, that they could look forward to every week. And countless messages like this. And so, and when I started running the whole operation, I realized that everything I've ever done throughout my life has now somehow contributed to me being able to run it, to grow it, to make it happen. From supply chain logistics to my legal background, to recycling, renewable energy, to volunteering and working with orphanages and, you know, human rights and Rotary Foundation, etc. And so it kind of all like just hit me, and my MBA on top of all this and doing a few startups of my own. I'm like, holy shit, like I really have now and music on top of all of this. So it really truly came together as this one big puzzle piece. And like, you know, looking back, I would never be able to tell or to say like, oh, I'm going, you know, I'm going for my 4 years in the legal industry because I'm going to need it, you know, 10 years down the road. It never clicked until I started running Calm. And I'm like, holy shit, this is everything. I've like, this is my life's purpose. It really is the culmination of everything coming together and mattering, of, you know, how I set it up, how I create the culture, how we create the ethos, how we bring, who do we partner with, who, which kind of members I bring on. And, you know, to go back to funds and money, I've worked in the corporate world. I've been there. I've made, you know, over six figures as a very young woman, and I wasn't happy. I was depressed. I hated my life. Money has never really been the drive for me. It's been purpose. And I believe that when you are doing something with purpose and truly matters, money will follow. And so for me, it's energy, right? Money is energy. So if you're doing something that is meaningful, you're doing something that is brings value to the community, the money will follow. So I have faith, and I'm just, you know, my faith, my kind of faith of, I just have to keep going and keep building. And I do believe that this is a business, not a business, it's a nonprofit that can sustain me and my team to a level where we're happy and we're provided for and can do this, you know, full time going forward and build it globally.
That is so beautiful. You must get such, I don't know, soul satisfaction from really contributing to this world, because the way I see it, and a lot of my friends agree to this, because you tend to get to an age where you find the people who you resonate with, but we always come to this conclusion that having found your purpose, then that's when you're able to, one, have your soul content, but also where the funds actually start coming in from different places that you would have never actually even thought of.
Yeah.
So it's always, and I always say, when people ask me like, what's the best way to make money, like, find something that your heart is attracted to, and that will eventually come and find you. And a lot of people do it the other way. They look for monetary gains with the hopes that in 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years when they retire, they will be happy. So I want to commend you on having found that makes your heart sing, and you're also helping humanity. I mean, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. It's not easy. And so I think the other thing that you mentioned, you know, finding what your heart really resonates with, is because it's not easy, and it will test you time and time and time again, just like any other startup, you know, any other company, any other product. If you're really not passionate about it, it's very hard to survive. And
Yeah.
if it was easy, everybody would do it, you know. That's the thing. And so the saying goes, do something that you care about, because it's going to test you, and it's going to really see how much you care about it and what you're willing to withstand. Because, you know, living without a paycheck and without unknowing where I'm going to get funds from to pay for my rent is, you know, at my age, it's not a comfortable feeling. It is a test constant test to my mindset and etc. But again, I think bringing in some knowledge from my background and, for example, my MBA, and understanding, oh, we have different things we can do. So we launched a membership program. So we would love to have members, you can sign up from all over the world. Like I said, we're doing different verticals. So we do com experience. So we can do any private events. We do weddings. We can rent our equipment. We have solar powered generators that we can also rent out. So I think there's a business that we can grow from that perspective as well, and kind of go into different verticals, and again, contribute to the society through what we already have and the talents that we have.
Mm. Are you streaming the service every Sunday or
Not
not?
yet. Not yet, no. So that requires a full
Right,
team, and
right.
which requires funds.
Right.
So
Because I was just thinking, for those who want to, not only help but actually, participate, and
from
we
around the world,
have
yeah.
listeners from not only U.S. but also, from other parts of the world, and I know a lot of them would want to support. But not only that, but what if there are people all over the world who get inspired by what you created, and hopefully they take that and they start that in their own town. Um,
Definitely.
but before we go any further, since we got to this point, can you tell us how can people find you? And then I'll ask you a few more questions, and then we'll say that at the end. But I know people are going to be like, okay, Alina, how do we find you? How do we help out?
So you can find us on Instagram, Church of Music SD, or our website, churchofmusictribe.com. And from our website, you can find, our Instagram, our link tree, our calendar. You can get in touch with us. You can sign up for a membership. And every person that signs up for a membership gets a little medallion necklace that you can only get through joining a membership. Have you gotten yours, by the way?
Not yet, not yet. But
Oh my goodness, we got to get you one.
next time. No, when I came the first day, I was like, "What is this? I want to be a part of it,
Yeah.
and I want to sign up as a member." And that's what I did, because I do believe in everything that you're doing, and I was there. I saw it. You had young people, you had older people, you had kids, you had everyone there, and it's just a nice setting where you just listen to amazing music. I've seen no sad faces in the crowd. I've seen no depressed people in the crowd, and it's just good vibes and good music. And I this is what I want to be part of. I want to be part of more things like this. And I don't really go to church here. I've been to other churches, but I've never found one that actually resonates with my soul. And thinking like church of music, even that whole sentence together, it's almost like it doesn't sound real, right? Because we're used to, church, like, oh, you do this, you go to heaven. You don't do this, you go to hell, especially, coming from Eastern Europe. So for me, it's a completely
Different
new
mind.
idea, but it also opens my heart to like, oh my God, we could be whoever we want to be. We could love whatever we want to love without feeling like, oh, if I didn't go to this priest or to this priest, like I've actually felt at peace, if that means anything, literally at peace with being there. And I think it's amazing, and I don't want to see you stop. I want to see you win. I want to see you at the top. So anything that we can do, and hopefully the listeners are going to get involved too, and I want to support you. And I mentioned you on the podcast before, and I'm going to continue doing so, because I do believe wholeheartedly into what you're doing.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And I think, like I said, it goes back to ethos, and it goes back to not just being there, but taking it with you to the real world, and how we show up in the real world as a community, and as a species.
Yeah. And one thing that I think we should mention, because there's so many topics I could talk with you about, but I think one that was super interesting to me um, was, you have been helping other women get into the DJ space because of the issues that you were facing. So tell me a little bit about that, if you can. Like, how did you come up with this, and what have you been doing with these ladies, and how do they feel about it?
So 50% of every single set that we do, or every single, week's peaceful protest service is female sermon givers. And so they're female DJs that come and play a set. And I find it incredibly interesting that every time I had reached out to any guy who's running a show, and they always have the one female as a token to show, oh yeah, we have females. I'm like, hey, and there's like 20 guys and one female. I'm like, where are all the female DJs? They're like, there's no female DJs. So at this point I have a female DJ group specifically for female DJs with just in San Diego, where we have close to 50
Wow.
50 female DJs that are local in San Diego, that are talented, that are passionate, that are excited to play. I have found countless women that have played for us that just blew my mind. And, like one particular girl comes to mind. She's played for 15 years and she used to play with her husband. I never see her get booked. She plays every genre. She is unbelievable. And I'm like, how come I never see you anywhere? She's like, oh, I don't know, I just never get booked and blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing. It's exactly the same issue that I came to, because it's a boys club. It's a boys network where they just keep, booking the same guys over and over again at all the different clubs and all the different, like, same space, same location, same people. And so we run from that. Like, that is not what we want. That is not the crowd we're good looking, like, none of it. And so I feel really proud because a few of the DJs that have started with us are now continuing and are playing bigger festivals and are getting booked, not just in San Diego, but now around the world. And so for me, that's like really cool, because I feel like we're giving a platform to the people that otherwise wouldn't have had it, otherwise wouldn't have had the chance or the opportunity. So that's kind
A
of,
church and a school and a mentor and sustainable living here in the near future. I
yes.
mean, what can I say, Alina? I mean, you're doing so much. I wish you all the best. And as I said, I want to support you, and I'm going to be a student of yours whenever you're ready to lay your wisdom upon me. I would love
Love that.
to
So
try my
actually,
DJ.
I have a really cool story. There's these two girls that started coming maybe like 5 or 6 months ago or so, Christiana and Bree. They're both professional bodybuilders, beautiful, full of energy, full of life. I don't know if you've met them yet, but I'm sure you will. And Christiana comes to me and she's like, I want to learn to DJ. You've inspired me and I want to learn. I would love to play, at Com. And it just so happened to be her 50th birthday. She started learning a month before her 50th birthday. She came and, I taught her and we did a few lessons here, and then she kept practicing every single day. She played her first set of her life on her 50th birthday at Church of Music. And it was the most beautiful, inspiring, crazy. I mean, this is what like, you really can do anything that you put your mind to. And this woman just inspires me on so many levels, because age is such bullshit. Age is such a thing of the past. Literally, you want to learn to DJ at 50, do it. And then you can show up and you play a set. And she played in front of 500 people. It's just amazing to me. Like, I'm like, wow, this is what we're about. This is
I
exactly.
love this. This makes me feel so happy because, of course, you do think of these things like, oh, can I even learn at this age? Is it even worth
Yeah,
it? And
yeah, yeah.
this is so inspiring. I cannot wait to meet her, and I want to see, all the other women who want to, test this, and I'm just so excited. Like I am so thankful that I met you, and I'm so thankful that I was introduced to
Likewise.
Church of Music, and I want to see where this is going, and I just want to thank you so much, Alina. And just as a reminder, one more time, where can people find you before I let you go today?
Churchofmusictribe.com.
Very nice.
You can get us right there, and then you can connect anywhere, which way. And it's just churchofmusictribe.com, all spelled out. No letters, no numbers, no anything like that. So
Beautiful. Are we having service on Sunday?
yes.
We are. Amazing. I cannot wait. I was pretty sad that it didn't happen yesterday. But all these
Nice.
things, I'm sure they happened for the right reason, even though we don't like it sometimes. But it gets you to get even more people involved, and gets you to have even more awareness
Yeah.
of this issue, because it really is. And it's not fair to anyone. And I want to support. So thank you, Alina. Thank you for
Thank
being
you so
here with
much for having me. Thank you, Isabella. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you soon and to be back, I'm sure, and all the good things.
us. Take care, Alina.